And good afternoon. Welcome back to the Eyes of the Middle with Joe King. And thank you for watching my show. And today I'm going to present to you that the race to the White House between Donald Trump and Kamala was all overshadowed with the war in Ukraine. Of course, with other matters arises. But I'll remind you that Donald Trump said he was going to end this war just in one day, even after arriving the overall office of the presidency. So did he keep to this promise? Let's watch and see the drama as it's played up till this date. Just watch.
Some ground in the Republican Party, but his core support is as fervent as ever.
We are going to finish what we started. We're going to complete the mission. We're going to see this battle through to ultimate victory. We're going to make America great again.
Within a speech full of war metaphors about his own fight for power, a nod to his new reworked sales pitch for the White House. Building walls is out, building bridges is in, casting himself as the peacemaker the world has been waiting for.
I will prevent, and very easily, World War III, very easily. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And it will take me no longer than one day.
But many see Donald Trump as anything but a peacemaker. Backstage, he was quizzed on whether he'd still run for office.
So when he won the election and get into the White House, what happened next? I will take you right down there so that you can watch for yourself. And then we can make our own analysis. After arriving the overall office, Donald Trump now bounced on his European allies. He calls them that the European Union was constructed to diffuse the power of the United States. And at the same time, it was a shocking news. He called Zelensky, of whom he helped, whom he said he will help, to stop the war, a dictator. So let's listen.
The European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
What will happen if these countries or the EU retaliate?
They can't. I mean, they can try, but they can't.
You said yesterday that the EU was constructed to screw the US when it comes to trade. What can our Prime Minister say to you to persuade you not to impose tariffs on the United Kingdom?
Yeah, did I use the word that you said, that bad word?
I think so.
Think of it, a modestly successful comedian, a dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left.
Mr. President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Donald Trump either being coy or forget.
It was quite amazing. He said he can't remember. He called Zelensky a dictator. But the damn place continued. So let's see what happened next as the transition power to stop Ukraine war keep unfolding itself. Finally, Zelensky was invited to the White House. But what happened in the overall office was a shocking news. I have never seen this in my entire life. With all the US presidents have been in politics, in-built politics from the inside, I have never seen this. Zelensky was at the White House to sign an agreement with the US over a rare earth mineral to which Trump wants access in exchange for continual military support. But Zelensky apparently could not stomach a revisionist history in which Putin is not seen as a what villain. Trump, meanwhile, accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III. The result over office becomes unanimous that people said this was premeditated for Zelensky to be, however, humiliated. Trump, meanwhile, accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III. The overall office shouting match conducted in front of reporters was spectacular with that president in front of TV channel. This was disgraceful in the eyes of the whole world. But many people said Vance was the one who pulled the trigger. So let's listen.
Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied it, our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract, yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the
This is when Zelensky challenged the vice president back and was asking him, what kind of diplomacy are you talking about? This was the gunshot. So listen further.
kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count one.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring people, you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
That was when President Donald Trump became very angry. And that is why many of the analysts call it a premeditated. That it was planned to humiliate Zelensky. But I wouldn't know. But from the downplay, I'm just reporting of what most of the reporter, political analysts could have said. So let's watch and see both arguments.
We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
Who could have seen this? Arguing with the US president. This is disgraceful. Who will you blame here? Is this for real? Many analysts are saying. Was this real premeditated? This is an insulting to the office of the United States. But how did it come? Does it mean that Zelensky did not have respect for the White House? Or was it really premeditated? Let's go.
You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting, have
today.
you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Doesn't matter.
This was not an easy conversation. It was quite disgraceful. Honestly,
How do
I
you
have
build
never
a risk
seen
profile
this
and
in
what
my
doesn't win
entire
us?
life. So,
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country is
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this.
I...
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
We gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment.
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
Yes. What about
if
West
you
Virginia?
didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
except
times
that
thank
there,
you
except
to
that,
American people.
except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're
many said it was premeditated. That was why Trump make it to last longer. He could have shut it down right from the onset. Well, many analysts said he has already grievances against Zelensky when he was running for his re-elected against Joe Biden in 2017, which I will take you there to remind you for that. Many political analysts said that this is political and the humiliation of Zelensky in the White House was a payback when Zelensky was in position to help Donald Trump for his re-election in 2017. And what happens was that in 2020, what happens was that Zelensky refused that he was not going to gamble with such. And that landed Donald Trump to an impeachment, which he sees as a revenge against Zelensky. And that was why he called him a dictator. And many people feels that Donald Trump is supporting the Russia. But many analysts come up to say this was a political payback. Of course, Donald Trump never loves or liked Putin. But let's list it. The reason why Zelensky should be now paying back or the revenge that Donald Trump have against him.
This impeachment inquiry, or whether President Trump sought to exploit that ally's vulnerability and invite Ukraine's interference in our elections, whether President Trump sought to condition official acts on Ukraine's willingness to assist with 2 political investigations that would help his re-election campaign. And if President Trump did either, whether such an abuse of his power is compatible with the office of the presidency. Raise your right hand. I will begin by swearing you in. When the Ukrainians learned of the suspension of the military aid on the Middle East peace process,
the member of my staff could hear President Trump on the phone asking Ambassador Sondland about the investigations. Ambassador Sondland told President Trump the Ukrainians were ready to move forward. Following the call with President Trump, the member of my staff asked Ambassador Sondland what President Trump thought about Ukraine. Ambassador Sondland responded that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden, which Giuliani was pressing for.
Been working on.
Just about an hour before the two of you sat down to testify today, the president tweeted multiple times about this hearing, and he put in all caps, "Never Trumpers." Mr. Kent, are you a never Trumper?
I am a career non-professional who serves whatever president is duly elected and carries out the foreign policies of that president in the United States, and I've done that for 27 years for 3 Republican presidents and 2 Democrat presidents.
Ambassador Taylor, are you a never Trumper?
No, sir.
Where is the impeachable offense in that call? Are either of you here today to assert there was an impeachable offense in that call? Shout it out. Anyone?
I'm not here to do anything having to do with to decide about impeachment. That is not what either of us are here to do. This is your job.
Let me read it one more time. Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told Ambassador Taylor that I told Mr. Morrison that I conveyed this message to Mr. Yarmouk on September 1st, 2019 in connection with Vice President Pence's visit to Warsaw and a meeting with President Zelensky. We got 6 people having 4 conversations in one sentence, and you just told me this is where you got your clear understanding.
I was not wrong about what I told you, which is what I heard. That's all I've said. I've told you what I heard.
And that's the point. What you heard did not happen. It didn't happen.
Was Hunter Biden a corporate governance expert?
I have no idea what Hunter Biden studied at university or what his CV says.
Ambassador Taylor, do you know whether Hunter Biden offers anything other than the fact that his dad's the former vice president?
I don't.
Well, you would agree it raises questions, right?
For as long as I can remember, U.S. foreign policy has been...
One witness that they won't bring in front of us, they won't bring in front of the American people. And that's the guy who started it all, the whistleblower.
Thank you. I say to my colleague, I'd be glad to have the person who started it all come in and testify. President Trump is welcome to take a seat right there.
That was exactly what happened, and Donald Trump was brought an impeachment, which he survived. So the vengeance of that period, many said, he lashed it on Zelensky, and is reaping politically the reason why he could not stand for Donald Trump. So it's a kind of a payback. And then I will finally conclude with an analysis from the LCB, what happens in the White House. Watch this part. This is the analysis from the LBC News. This is a guy I respected when it comes to political analysis. What was his takeaway when Zelensky, the uproar in the White House, what really happens there? So I want you to really watch this and see what your comment can be. So just get on.
Entirely premeditated. I think that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance knew exactly what they were going to do the moment that they brought President Zelensky into the Oval Office. This is Donald Trump's thank you to the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who yesterday went out of his way to flatter Donald Trump, invite him to make a state visit to the UK, secured the Prime Minister's approval of President Trump's efforts to try and end the war in Ukraine. And I suspect that they were fully aware yesterday, during that meeting with the Prime Minister, of what they were going to engage in today with the Ukrainian leader, the most courageous figure Europe has seen since 1945. They engaged in a premeditated geostrategic mugging of the Ukrainian president over that 45-minute brutal photo opportunity that Donald Trump deliberately put Zelensky through. And you heard him there at one point saying, "This is why I let this thing. This is why I let this thing run so long." And it's clear that this was premeditated. This is going to boost Zelensky's standing in Ukraine dramatically. The Russians, and let me just tell you parenthetically, the Russian news agency TASS, a Putin propaganda outfit, was allowed into the Oval Office, but not Reuters or the Associated Press. This is manna from heaven for Vladimir Putin, and it is a massive, massive political problem for Sir Keir Starmer, Lord Peter Mandelson, Number 10, and Emmanuel Macron, of course, who was here on Monday.
And most directly, Ukraine. I mean,
this was a manna from heaven for Vladimir Putin. This was manna, and that's what many analysts said. When I read one of the agency news in Russia, it says that there were jubilations, there were historical events as Donald Trump support Russia. Could that be truth? Thank you for watching The Eyes of the Mirror, and I will see you again in my next episode. And thank you for subscribing, and good night for now.